Have you ever wondered what the duties are of the medical officer of your troop at summer camp? Let's talk about it. Hey, ScouterStan. Let's talk a little bit about the TMO. Boy, do we like acronyms, right? TMO, it's the Troop Medical Officer. TMO. This is it's not an official position. It's usually, if you're going in a troop, and if you're going as a crew to a camp for summer, like a week of summer, you're going to have one of your assistant scoutmasters or crew advisors to actually step up and take care of the medical forms and represent the troop. Of course, every troop and crew going to camp should have their own medical kit, because accidents happen in the campsite. That's usually at the activity areas. That's the camp. They can take care of that. But when there's downtime in the campsite, that's usually when scouts get injured. So they need little band-aids every now and then, or something to put on, a bug bite, or all kinds of things. And I've actually done that position, and there's a lot of different schools of thought as far as the medical officer of the troop at camp. They typically will use things like sawbones, way back, would be the nickname that they would give that leader. Nurse Betty, if you're from the 70s, you know exactly what that is. And then, of course, Nurse Ratchet. On the other way around. If you're from the 80s or 90s, that's Nurse Betty. Nurse Ratchet is from the 70s. I remember that. Nurse Ratchet was from a movie. So there's just different titles they would give, and it's usually a team. It's usually two or more. It depends. If it depends on what you're doing as a unit, whether it's a all boy unit or all girl unit, a girl troop, or crew, or you have to stay within the youth protection guidelines, of course. So that being said, the medical officer has certain tasks that they do. Now, there are many duties that the medical officer has, regardless of whatever nickname you choose. The medical officer takes care of the medical records for all of the scouts. This book of all of their medical records is important, especially if the scout is injured to a point where they need professional medical attention off-site. The medical officer will be advised of that, and the medical team will actually get that book and make sure that the paperwork goes with the scout, so that that all the waivers and all the forms that are needed for medical attention is there. That is extremely important, and keeping that in mind, they're also there to monitor the general health of all of the scouts. The reason that we have an adult leader doing this, because they monitor the scouts on a regular basis at the scout meetings and on campouts. So when they go to a summer camp, say for instance it's out of state, they know the behavioral tendencies of most of the scouts, and it's important that they're watching to make sure that they are not injured or hurt or limping around. You got to bring that to somebody's attention. Sometimes, especially with scouts, they think they're made out of indestructible material, and they do crazy things and get hurt. So you have to be able to watch for that. And of course, you also have homesickness. Now, one of the critical things about the medical officer team, the lead needs to have somebody else with them. There should always be two deep leadership, and that's all the time. There should be two deep leadership. When you enter into a camp, it doesn't waive any of the YPT. That all still is in place. There's no need for an adult with a youth. That's outside of the parameters of what youth protection training is about. It's two deep leadership 100% of the time, regardless, even if you're at camp. So that's important to maintain that two deep leadership. Now, one of the big things that team does year-round is maintain the medical records. They know that every year that there's a medical record that needs to be updated, and that booklet, all the medical forms and everything needs to be cycled through and make sure that all of that is kept current. The medical team should also make notes of scouts who have certain things that they need to be aware of, such as allergies. Extreme allergies can be very dangerous. So we have to make sure that those are noted, that those scouts and the medical team knows that particular scout may have an allergy to peanut butter. That's something that is something that they need to know. And that's even true even with Cub Scout packs. There should be a medical officer that's there that knows about the scout and has those medical forms. And if you're at a day camp, or if you're going to an adventure or something like that, there's sometimes there may be a need to find out from the parents what their allergies or problems or medications or any of those things. That all has to be ironed out. We want to make sure that the scout has a safe and enjoyable time and is actually able to learn. That is so important. Otherwise, it makes the trip very difficult. Now, your unit, your troop, or your crew is actually at a scout camp for a week. Your medical officers of your unit should always be on call 24/7 during that week of camp. They have to be able to. The emergency might be at 3 in the morning, so that's very very important to have a good team that works together, because you have two adult leaders up at that time of night working with a scout. That is, you have to have a good team, and keeping that is very important, and that should always be available during the time that they are at summer camp. The medical team also has to be familiar with what is in the unit's first aid kit. That is very important to know where the Band-Aids are. If you have a real emergency, you need where the first aid kit has the extreme life-saving equipment that's in there. That's for an extreme case. We believe in be prepared, so we prepare for everything that could happen. You prepare, but you hope that you never have to use it. But if you need it, you gotta have it. Okay, so you need to be aware of what's in your first aid kit, and that's true for everyone in the medical officer team. Now, a common task for the medical officer is to make sure that the scouts get medications. Some scout camps require that all medications be locked up at the medical facility of the camp. That is yes and no. There are some exceptions to that. I know that from experience. If it's medications that's taken during the normal periods of time, yes, you could do that. A medical officer could also do that in camp. There's a log book that is maintained in camp. So that's something that's part of that procedure. And then also, if it's regular medications, that's usually okay. There are some exceptions where the scout actually has it with them. The big one is EpiPens, those pins that if they're having an allergic reaction, say they're allergic to bees and they got stung, if they're at the firing range at cross camp, they can't run all the way back to the medical hut or to a medical officer back at camp. They should have that EpiPen on them if they're allergic, to that point. So it's important that medications are delivered in a timely manner and available to the scout when needed. And there are times when a scout gets in medical issue. They fall off something that they shouldn't have been on. They get hurt or they get cut or that happens. And sometimes medical assistance is needed. So those medical officers, both of them, 2 Deep Leadership, they would often drive to the hospital if the scout is being transported to a facility and meet up with the scout at the facility. So that it is amazing, all of the paperwork that you'll need to be filling out. But that is something that the medical officer has to be prepared to do. Now, before we go any further, I do want to invite you to our monthly meeting. It's on the first Sunday of each month, and it's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So you're more than welcome to join us and ask questions and just have fun. That's one of those wonderful things about that meeting. I also want to thank everybody on Patreon for their continued support of our channel. And our channel members. You can be a channel member. You hit the join button and join up. There's all kinds of badges and emojis and different things. They even get the videos exclusively for themselves, ad-free, which is an added bonus. And then, of course, if you don't want to join in and do a monthly donation, you could always do a one-time donation by hitting the thanks button. So get involved. I really do appreciate all that you do in scouting and here on the channel. Now, as a medical officer, you need to be monitoring your unit's behavior, all of the things that they're doing, and you need to make sure that they are keeping themselves hydrated. It is amazing, always amazing, how many scouts do not drink enough water. Water is one of those critical things that scouts just don't really think about. And most people are dehydrated. It is so amazing. So make sure, as medical officer, have first thing before they all go off to flags, have them all hold up their canteens. Make sure that they all have their algenes or their canteen or whatever they have with water in it. Just water, not flavored water, not Kool-Aid, not bug juice, none of that stuff. Water is what they need. That's how you keep hydrated. So maybe even have a safety moment at the gathering in the morning before you go to flags. That's important. The medical officer needs to be doing that. And maybe there might be medications that might have to be done before they go off to the dining hall. So that's important too. So these are things that a medical officer needs to keep aware of. They also need to make sure that the scouts are wearing shoes. Okay, so many times they get into camp, they take their shoes off, and they're running around in bare feet. That's when we have problems. Even a stick off of a tree can go in through your foot. Okay, so there are sharp edges on broken sticks. So splinters, all kinds of things. Not to mention all the wildlife that would bite you, anything from a spider to a snake. So, wear shoes in camp. That could be one of your safety moments. Being aware of what's going on for the day. If the troop or crew is going off to do whitewater rafting, make sure that they have their stuff ready for whitewater rafting. A lot of times, especially from up north, if they're coming south to a camp out of state, if they're coming south, make sure that they have sunscreen. Okay? The sun, the angle is different. Okay? You're going to burn faster. So that's important. See, these are medical things that a lot of people take for granted, but a medical officer should be bringing it to the attention of the scouts. Hygiene is important too, because a scout is clean. This is huge. You want to make sure that the scouts are taking advantage of the facilities, because they're doing swimming every day for the swimming merit badge. That doesn't count as a shower. Okay? Sorry. Sometimes dirt is okay, but a lot of times it's not. And youth, young individuals, they can get kind of smelly. So there's something growing if it's smelling. So always keep that in mind. So definitely make sure that the scouts are using the facilities, and they are there, and they should be doing that either daily, which would be nice, or at least every other day. Okay, so that's my take on it. And of course, as a health officer, it's important to keep tabs on that. Another one is mental health. Talk to the scouts. Find out how they feel. Is there an issue? Is there a problem? Is there a scout that stopped eating? That could be issues. They could have stopped eating because they don't want to use the bathrooms. It's a youth thing. And so the medical officers team need to go around and talk with the scouts, see how they're doing. Are they enjoying their time at camp? This is something that's done either as groups or individually, but of course with the 2 Deep leadership. So this is important to keep tabs on scouts, especially if you have scouts that have had issues. That's something that comes up. Now, if you'd like to see the video on homesickness, there's we did one a while back, and homesickness is a huge thing, especially for first-time campers. They've never gone out of their home for a week without mom and dad nearby, so definitely check that out. The unit's medical officer, troop, or crew should be advised of any issues, medical or physical or mental. These are things that can come up at camp. You need to be observant of a lot of those things and be ready to act if you're called upon. If the scout is hurt or injured or something happens, you need to be able to help them so that they can recover quicker. That is something that we do as scouts. We scouts and scouters, we want to make sure that everyone is having a decent time at summer camp, not something that's detrimental over time. So we need to make sure that we keep tabs on everything. This is the other end. Not only are they for the youth, that's their primary job, but they're also there for the adults. There are adults that have problems that they need to talk to somebody about. So just getting a second opinion is important. That's the important thing. You're there for the entire unit, including yourself. So team members can check on one another. It's a group, okay? And we are all there to help one another. So always keep those things in mind. Scouting is a fantastic thing. And we do adventures and have great times. Memories that'll last a lifetime. That's something that we do at summer camp. So always keep that in mind. The medical officer is there, that team is there to help. Make sure that is a good time for all. So always keep that in mind, and keep that moving forward by being active as a medical officer for your unit. We do so much for our scouts, so let's keep up that good hard work. And if you have questions or anything, please feel free to use the comments below. If you have comments, you want to tell a neat story, that's fine too. We love that stuff. Our community is great. You guys are awesome. So definitely drop whatever you want into that community. Of course, keep it by Scout Oath and Scout Law. Okay, that's the requirement. But that's what that comment section is for. Please do that. Scouting is a lot of fun, and being a medical officer is always a fun and challenging. It is challenging thing to do for the troop and for the scouts and leaders. So very cool. We have tons of information here on the channel, and I'm so grateful that you're taking advantage of that. That is so awesome. Thank you for all you do in scouting. And if you'd like more information about homesickness, we have a video, so check that out. Until next time, I'll see you on the trail.